Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles, and welcome to my January wrap-up, including our first round of monthly stats. So, it's an interesting month. Did I abandon my TBR? Perhaps. Did I still read things though? Yes, and that's what really matters. I read 7 books, no rereads, 5 DNFs, read a little bit over 1,500 pages, and listened to 42 hours of audio. As far as genre, 5 romances, 1 sci-fi, and 1 fantasy. As far as format, 1 audiobook, 5 ebooks, and 1 hybrid where I listened to audio and followed along with the ebook. 6 of the books were adult, 1 was YA. I had 2 reads that were 3.75 stars, 2 reads that were 4.75 stars, and 1 read each for 4.25, 4.5, and 4.75 stars. Everything that I read was a novel, and I read 2 repeat authors and 1 new to me author, and so the author count is only for books that I actually completed. Now, if you're wondering what I actually read since I abandoned my TBR, I'm so glad you asked. I'm gonna tell you, okay? So we'll just go through this in chronological order, starting off with The First to Die at the End. So this is the prequel to They Both Die at the End, which came out, I don't even know. Actually, I don't remember. Anyway, it was a very polarizing book. You either love it or you hate it, and I actually really liked it. I rated it 5 stars. So I was curious about this one because I wanted more information on Deathcast and how it works. So if you're unfamiliar, and They Both Die at the End, we are following 2 boys who both get their call from Deathcast being alerted that it is their end day, meaning that sometime in the next 24 hours, they will die. They don't know how, they just know that it's going to happen. So in this one, we are following the very first person to get a call from Deathcast. It's literally the launch of it, and obviously there are very strong feelings around the country, and how do they know? What's the technology behind it? We don't learn the technology behind it, which is something that I'm hoping for because I'm very curious about it. But it was still pretty good. It's very cute. I now want to fight Adam Silvera, and 4.75 stars. So if you liked They Both Die at the End, I would recommend. Then I attempted to read Death. This is basically a memoir written by Death himself, and I just didn't care. It's very weird. It's like real weird from the jump. There's so much incest, and Then Robin and I buddy read Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. I briefly mentioned that this will be featured in a future project that you'll get more details on later, but I actually liked it. I rated it 4 stars. It is 2 books in one, and the first one was definitely much better, but overall, the story itself was pretty good. We're following 2 thieves as they get hired to do things, and then shit goes left. Because I got to a point and I was like, oh, this must be why it's called Theft of Swords, and then everything went off the rails, but in the best possible way. The characters are great. Royce and Hadrian are hilarious, and I really love their dynamic, so that was a very pleasant surprise. Then I DNF'd 7 Days in June, which I'm sure is not a surprise to anybody, and some of y'all are probably like, why did you even pick that up? And I did it because I wanted to know what it was about this book that made y'all think it was a romance, because it's not a romance. Nothing about that book gives you romance vibes. I think I made it to 27%. And I already mentioned this in my February TBR, but y'all have got to stop calling that a romance. It is not. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Stop calling that book a fucking romance. Then I attempted to read The Surgeon by Tess Garrison. This is the first in the Rizzoli and Isle series. I was bored. Like, even though the case itself was actually interesting, I don't care about any of the characters because Jane Rizzoli is not the main character the way she is in the TV show, and I guess that's what I was expecting. Also, we haven't even met Mara Isles yet, and the writing is just very outdated. Like, I don't need you to tell me 27 times that Jane is just so plain. Like, there's nothing remarkable about her. Like, what does this have to do with anything? You know what I mean? So I wasn't feeling it. Then I was going to read Mercy by Jodi Picoult. I love Jodi Picoult. Everything that she does to me is amazing. And this was very interesting. It's about this man who shows up in this town and is like, my wife is dead and I killed her. And then chaos descends because that's a wild thing to do and say. And so I know that it's going to get better. I know that there's going to be a twist that's going to be like super crazy, but then also the sheriff was having an affair, and I was like, why are you doing this with some girl who apparently he met in Ireland like 18 years ago or some shit? And I was just like, I don't care. So that was a DNF. I think this is the first time I've ever DNF'd a Jodi Picoult book. Then I had an arc of In a Not So Perfect World. The author's publicist had reached out to me, and I was accepted on NetGalley, and so I tried to give it a shot, but I did not care. This is actually not a book that anyone who knows my reading taste would ever recommend to me. It is very much full of what you find in a traditionally published romance, which is not the majority of what I read. I also think that the main character was just super fucking annoying. She cares way too much about what other people think of her, and at the same time did not question some of the things that were happening around her that were like a pretty big deal. So I just couldn't get into it, but I would recommend it if you like fake dating. It is a woman in the gaming industry, which I think could have been a really cool thing. It just didn't work for me. Then there were 2 books on my TBR that I just did not touch at all. Didn't crack them open, didn't give them a chance, nothing. First was Our Violent Ends. This is the sequel to These Violent Delights, which I read a long time ago. And I was thinking about that book, trying to refresh my memory in order to go into this one. And I realized that at the end of that book, we are exactly in the same spot that we were in the beginning, and we learned nothing about the big mystery that is taking over the town. And I was like, that was a waste of my time. And you won't get me again, so no. Then I was very adamant that I was going to give this book a chance. I was, despite the fact that everybody I know DNF'd it and nobody seems to like it. I didn't crack open Which Is Steeped in Gold. I was talking to Jess about it, and she was like, it's not worth it. Don't do it. Don't bother. You don't need to do it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't. So I didn't. Now you're probably like, well, Ray, what did you read then, girl? And I'm so glad you asked. I read almost the entirety of the Serendipitous series by CCJ. As y'all know, I'm trying to make my way through her backlist, and I read the first 5 books in the series. I'm 90% through the last one, so we're gonna say that it's completed, but technically that will be on my February spreadsheet. Here's the thing. This is a series of companion novels about different business owners in this thriving Black community, and it's wonderful and I love it. However, Christina, you labeled this series warm and fuzzy in your document, okay? The document that has all of her work. Yeah, it's labeled as warm and fuzzy, and I would not classify it as warm and fuzzy. It starts warm and fuzzy, and then it goes left, and then it gets serious, and I just think that we need to talk about, I think we should have a chat about that. There are 6 books. All of them are great. All of them are wonderful. I think the lowest I rated anything was a 3.75, which is like a low 4, not bad at all. However, if you are sensitive to reading about pregnancy, miscarriages, anything like that, don't read this series, okay? Because I was reading the first one and I was having a good time, and I felt so good that I went and recommended it to Jess. And then things got serious, and I was like, hey buddy, pulled the trigger a little too soon there. Sorry, it's gonna get serious. It's gonna come back, and then it's gonna get serious again. I just want to let you know that I was led astray, and therefore I led you astray, and I didn't mean to do that. So I'm gonna read the rest of the series first, and I'm gonna let you know how it actually is. And so I was sending Jess voice notes, and I was like, girl, this is not warm and fuzzy because this happened. And then book 3, this is not warm and fuzzy because this happened. Book 4, actually warm and fuzzy, definitely would recommend. Number 5, it was all right. 6, I'm just like, eh. But I mean, it's a good series. It's great. There are different shop owners, coffee shop, floral shop, barber shop, tattoo shop, all these great things. It's wonderful. And I do recommend it. But again, pregnancy, miscarriage, stillbirth, all those things. If you don't want to read about them, don't read this series, okay? That is my warning to you. So yes, what did we learn this month? Sometimes you just gotta unhaul shit. And I have to stop making TBRs with no romance because apparently I can't do that. So yeah, there's that. Now, the rest of my content for February is already pre-filmed. I talked about that in my monthly reset, and it's a good thing because the way that life has been lifing, I don't have it in me to make new content. So yeah, I'm gonna take a little break. And I'll talk to y'all in the comments though. Let me know if you've read any of these or if they are on your TBR. What CCJ series should I start next? Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.